I always thought that I was a psychiatrist, but something happened to me recently to make me see who I really am. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're a cop flying in your helicopter out in the country, and you spot down below a field of marijuana growing. Do you report it? Or do you sample it? It's like if your wife of 30 years, in whom you've gradually lost interest, confesses to you that she's having an affair. Do you go to marriage counseling, or do you seize the opportunity? You're sitting at a bar by yourself. You've had 3 or 4 drinks, but you're still feeling fairly miserable. You look up, and in walks your minister. He's got this big smile on his face, and you realize that you're about ready to be saved. Or at least to pretend to be saved so that he'll leave. He comes over to you, puts his hand on your shoulder. Yeah, you're going to be forgiven for starters. Then he sits down next to you, orders a Boilermaker and an extra shot of whiskey, and suddenly you realize you must be a lot more religious than you ever thought you were. So this is what happened. I was studying for a recertification exam, and I came across a disease that I've never heard of before. Hairy cell leukemia. Hairy cell leukemia. Not hairy as in, oh, you'd better watch out for that one. That could be a really hairy situation. Hairy as in hair on your head, hair under your arms, pubic hair. Hairy as in hair on your cells in your body that aren't supposed to be hairy and suddenly become hairy. And I thought to myself, that is the last disease in the world that I would ever want to have. Because you can die from that disease. And if you die from it, that means people are going to know you had it. You're probably going to have to tell them about it while you're still living, because they're going to see you getting thinner. It is a type of cancer. And hairier. And all the time that you're fending off comments while you're living, you're going to be worrying about what people are going to say at your funeral, when they know you can't hear them anymore. Yeah, he had that hairy cell leukemia thing. He must have become so obsessed with the fear of going bald that he used way too much of that Rogaine stuff. It didn't do a whole lot for the hair on his head, but it made every other cell in his body get hairy. That's why it's a closed casket, you know. I understand that at the time of his death he looked like an ape. A very skinny ape, but an ape. And you know what else I heard? Those last several weeks, he didn't leave the house because he lost the ability to talk. Instead, he lumbered about. And then I asked myself, what kind of socially inept individual would have ever called a disease hairy cell leukemia, obviously not giving a damn, not even thinking for a moment about people who would get it and have to explain it to their friends? I'm the sort of person who would have called it hairy cell leukemia. If I had seen that disease under my microscope, I would have taken one gander at it and said, wow, look at that cell. That sucker is really hairy. Let's call this damn thing hairy cell leukemia. Because that's what happens to doctors. We get so close to disease, we have to back off from people. Or wait.